"Don't hurt me, I can't walk," begged the cop. The words hung in the rain-soaked air like a confession nobody expected to hear. Officer Sarah Mitchell, 34 years old and decorated with commendations for bravery, lay crumpled against the brick wall of a downtown alley, her service weapon 3 feet away in a puddle, her right leg twisted at an angle that made passersby look away in horror. The man standing over her wasn't what the gathering crowd expected either. Marcus Webb, 38, ex-convict with a record that had followed him like a shadow for 15 years, held a crowbar loosely in his right hand. Rain dripped from his work jacket as he stared down at the woman who had once put him behind bars. "Please," Sarah's voice cracked, her hand instinctively reaching for the weapon she couldn't grasp. "I have a daughter." Marcus didn't move. His dark eyes studied her face, searching for something the crowd couldn't see. Behind him, sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. Someone in the crowd had already called 911, their voices urgent, describing a black man threatening a fallen police officer. What nobody knew yet was that Sarah Mitchell had been running. Not from danger, but toward something far more terrifying, the truth about who she really was beneath that badge. 3 hours earlier, Sarah had sat in the Internal Affairs office, her hand steady as she signed a report that would destroy Marcus Webb's appeal for exoneration. The evidence was clear, she'd written in her neat handwriting. The conviction was sound. But her pen had trembled on that last word because Sarah Mitchell knew something that made her stomach turn. Marcus Webb had been innocent all along. She'd been a rookie cop 15 years ago, ambitious, desperate to prove herself in a department that treated women like temporary inconveniences. When her training officer, Detective Raymond Cole, told her to corroborate his testimony about finding drugs in Marcus's vehicle during a routine stop, she hadn't questioned it. She was 23, terrified of failing, and Cole was a legend with 30 years on the force. Marcus Webb lost 15 years of his life because Sarah Mitchell chose her career over the truth. Now, standing in that alley with her leg shattered from a fall she took while fleeing the courthouse, Sarah finally understood what it felt like to be powerless. To beg for mercy from someone who had every right to walk away. Marcus's voice, when it finally came, was quiet. "I remember you." Sarah closed her eyes. Of course he did. She testified at his trial, young and confident, her uniform crisp, her words damning. She'd looked him straight in the eye and lied under oath. "I was there," she whispered. "At the hearing today. I saw you watching me." "Yeah," Marcus said slowly. "I saw you run." The crowd grew larger, phones raised, recording every second. Marcus could hear their assumptions, feel their fear of him radiating like heat. A black ex-con with a weapon standing over a white female cop. The story was writing itself in real time, and it was the same story that had been written about men like him for generations. But something else was happening in that moment, something the cameras couldn't capture. Sarah Mitchell was crying, not from physical pain, but from 15 years of carrying a lie that had finally become too heavy to bear. "I'm sorry," she said, the words barely audible over the approaching sirens. "God, Marcus, I'm so sorry." Marcus Webb had dreamed about this moment during those 15 years in a cell that smelled like bleach and desperation. He'd imagined confronting the people who'd stolen his life, making them feel every single day he'd lost. His daughter had been 3 when they took him away. She was 18 now, and barely spoke to him. The crowbar felt heavy in his hand. One swing. That's all it would take to balance the scales. Instead, Marcus Webb did something that would change both their lives forever. He dropped the crowbar and walked away from Sarah Mitchell lying broken in that alley, leaving her to face the consequences of her choices alone. Except he didn't walk far. Just to the mouth of the alley, where he stood with his arms raised as the first police car screeched to a stop, officers pouring out with weapons drawn. "He didn't touch me." Sarah's voice rang out, stronger than anyone expected. "He saved me from falling. This man saved my life." The officers froze, confused. The crowd murmured. Marcus stood perfectly still, hands high, knowing that one wrong move could end him. What nobody understood yet was that Sarah Mitchell had just made a choice that would either redeem her or destroy her completely. And Marcus Webb, the man she'd wrongfully imprisoned, was about to become the only person who could help her survive what was coming next. Because Detective Raymond Cole, the man who'd orchestrated Marcus's false conviction, was now the chief of police. And he'd been watching Sarah very carefully since she'd walked out of that internal affairs meeting 3 hours ago. The real story was only beginning, and it was far more dangerous than anyone in that rain-soaked alley could imagine. If you're feeling this story in your chest right now, hit that subscribe button, because what happens next will make you question everything you thought you knew about justice. The ambulance doors slammed shut, taking Sarah Mitchell away from the scene. Marcus Webb sat in the back of a patrol car, not in handcuffs as he'd expected, but as a witness. Through the rain-streaked window, he watched the crowd disperse, their phones still glowing with the footage they'd captured. Officer Jenkins, a young cop with nervous eyes, shifted uncomfortably in the driver's seat. "Chief Cole wants to see you at the station. Says he wants to personally thank you for helping Officer Mitchell." Marcus said nothing. He knew Raymond Cole better than Jenkins could imagine. 15 years ago, Cole had looked him in the eye during that traffic stop and planted evidence with the casual confidence of a man who'd done it before. Marcus had seen that same expression on plenty of faces inside prison, the look of someone who believed the rules didn't apply to them. At the hospital, Sarah Mitchell lay on a gurney as doctors examined her shattered leg. The pain medication was starting to work, making everything feel distant and strange. Through the fog, she heard a familiar voice. "Sarah, thank God you're okay." Chief Raymond Cole stood in the doorway, his silver hair perfectly styled, his uniform immaculate. At 58, he looked like a recruitment poster for law enforcement. Strong jaw, kind eyes, the father figure every rookie wanted to impress. Sarah's stomach twisted. She tried to sit up, but the pain shot through her leg like lightning. "Easy," Cole said, moving closer. His hand rested on her shoulder with practiced gentleness. "I heard what happened. That ex-con didn't hurt you, did he?" "Marcus Webb saved me," Sarah said carefully, watching Cole's face. "I fell running from the courthouse. He helped me." Something flickered behind Cole's eyes, gone so fast Sarah almost missed it. "Running? Why were you running?" Sarah's mouth went dry. She'd fled that internal affairs meeting because she couldn't breathe anymore, couldn't carry the weight of that 15-year-old lie for one more second. But saying that out loud to Cole meant admitting she'd lied for him. It meant destroying her career, facing criminal charges, losing everything. "I felt sick," she whispered. "Needed air." Cole nodded slowly, but his hand on her shoulder tightened just slightly. "The IA meeting was difficult, I'm sure. Webb's lawyers have been pushing hard for that appeal. Good thing you held firm on your testimony." Sarah closed her eyes. There it was, the trap closing around her throat. Cole knew she was wavering. He'd always known how to read people, how to sense weakness. "You did the right thing back then, Sarah. Webb was guilty. Sometimes the evidence gets messy, but we know the truth." Cole's voice was soft, fatherly. "Don't let his lawyers get in your head with their conspiracy theories." Except they weren't theories. Sarah had seen the case files, the inconsistencies, the testimony from witnesses who'd since recanted. Marcus Webb had been driving his daughter to her grandmother's house when Cole pulled him over for a broken taillight that wasn't actually broken. "I need to rest," Sarah said quietly. Cole squeezed her shoulder once more before leaving. "I'll handle the press. You focus on healing. And Sarah? That ex-con who helped you today? Stay away from him. Men like that, they always have an angle." After Cole left, Sarah stared at the ceiling tiles, counting them to avoid thinking about the choice she'd just failed to make for the second time in her life. Across town at the police station, Marcus Webb sat in an interrogation room that felt all too familiar. The walls were the same industrial beige, the table bolted to the floor, the mirror obviously two-way glass. He'd spent hours in rooms like this, always knowing the system was designed to break him. The door opened. Chief Cole entered with 2 cups of coffee, smiling warmly. "Mr. Webb, I apologize for the wait. I wanted to thank you personally for helping Officer Mitchell." Marcus accepted the coffee but didn't drink it. "I didn't do anything special. Just didn't walk away from someone who needed help. That's more than most people would do, especially given your history with the department." Cole sat down across from him, his expression sympathetic. "I've reviewed your case, Marcus. I know you feel you were treated unfairly." "I was innocent," Marcus said flatly. Cole sighed, a performance of regret. "The justice system isn't perfect. Sometimes good people get caught up in bad situations. But you served your time, you're rebuilding your life. That's what matters now." Marcus studied the man who destroyed his life. Cole had aged well, probably slept fine at night, never thought twice about the families he'd torn apart. Why am I really here? Cole's smile faded slightly. Officer Mitchell said something interesting in her statement. She said you recognized her in that alley. That you mentioned seeing her at a hearing today. There it was. Cole wasn't here to thank him. He was here to assess the threat. I was at the courthouse for my appeal hearing, Marcus said carefully. I saw a lot of people. And then, by remarkable coincidence, you happened to be in that alley when she fell. Cole leaned forward. See, Marcus, that concerns me. A decorated officer, one who testified at your trial, ends up alone with you in an alley? Some people might think that looks suspicious. The threat was clear. Cole could spin this story any way he wanted. One word from him, and Marcus would be back in a cell, this time for assaulting a police officer. I was walking my normal route home from work, Marcus said. I install security systems now. Cameras, alarms, that kind of thing. Ironic, right? Ex-con who got framed by dirty evidence now makes a living protecting people from thieves. Cole's jaw tightened. Careful with those accusations. Wasn't accusing anyone. Marcus stood up slowly. Am I free to go, Chief? Or are you charging me with something? For a long moment, Cole just stared at him. Then he smiled again, but this time it didn't reach his eyes. You're free to go. But Marcus? Stay away from Officer Mitchell. For your own good. Marcus walked out of that station, knowing the real battle had just begun. Cole had revealed his hand. He was scared. Scared that Sarah might finally tell the truth. Scared that 15 years of corruption might unravel. What Cole didn't know was that Marcus Webb had spent every single day of those 15 years learning patience. Learning to think 3 steps ahead. Learning that the best way to catch a predator was to let him think he was still the hunter. The question burning through Marcus's mind as he stepped into the cool night air wasn't whether to fight back. It was how to do it without becoming the monster everyone already assumed he was. Sarah Mitchell was released from a hospital 3 days later with a cast, crutches, and instructions to stay off her leg for 6 weeks. Her captain had placed her on medical leave, which meant she had plenty of time to think about the lie that was eating her alive from the inside out. Her daughter Emma, 12 years old with Sarah's sharp eyes and her father's stubbornness, helped her mother navigate the apartment stairs. Mom, why did that man help you? The one from the news. Sarah paused on the landing, balancing awkwardly. What do you mean? Everyone at school saw the video. They're saying he went to prison because of you, but then he saved you anyway. Emma's voice held that particular tone of adolescent judgment. Seems weird. It's complicated, sweetheart. That's what adults say when they don't want to admit something's messed up. Sarah didn't have an answer for that because her daughter was absolutely right. That night, after Emma went to bed, Sarah sat at her kitchen table with her laptop and did something she'd been avoiding for 15 years. She pulled up Marcus Webb's case file, the one she'd buried in the back of her mind along with all her other regrets. The traffic stop. The planted drugs. Her testimony. Cole's coaching before the trial, his voice patient and fatherly. Just tell them what you saw, Sarah. Don't overthink it. Webb is a career criminal. We're just helping the system work the way it should. She'd been so young, so desperate to belong. Sarah's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. We need to talk. Tomorrow, 2 p.m., Riverside Park. Come alone. M.W. Her hands shook. Marcus Webb shouldn't be contacting her. Cole had made that clear. This was exactly the kind of thing that could get her suspended, investigated, or worse. She texted back, "How did you get this number?" The response came immediately, "I install security systems, remember? I'm good at finding things people try to hide. Including the truth." Sarah stared at those words for a long time before typing, "I'll be there." Marcus Webb lived in a studio apartment above a laundromat in a neighborhood where people minded their own business. The walls were thin, the plumbing unreliable, but it was his. After 15 years of having every aspect of his life controlled, privacy was worth more than luxury. He sat at his small desk, surrounded by papers, photographs, and files he'd been collecting since his release 8 months ago. His laptop screen glowed in the dim light, displaying a network of connections that would make most people's heads spin. His daughter Jasmine appeared on the video call screen, her expression guarded. At 18, She'd learned to protect herself from disappointment, especially where her father was concerned. "Dad, why are you calling this late?" "I need your help with something," Marcus said carefully. "Remember those computer skills you've been learning at community college?" Jasmine's eyes narrowed. "What kind of help?" "The legal kind. I need someone who understands digital forensics to help me organize evidence for my appeal." "You mean the appeal that just got denied?" Her voice was sharp. "Maybe it's time to move on." Marcus felt that familiar ache in his chest. Jasmine had every right to be angry. He'd missed her entire childhood, her first day of high school, her learning to drive, everything that mattered. "I know you're tired of this. But I'm asking anyway." Something in his voice made her pause. "What happened?" "Officer Mitchell, the cop who testified against me, she's starting to crack. I think she wants to come clean." "And you trust her?" Jasmine laughed bitterly. "The woman who helped put you away?" "I don't trust her. But I understand guilt when I see it." Marcus pulled up a file on his screen. "I've been documenting everything since I got out. Every case Cole touched, every conviction that looks suspicious, every pattern. There are at least 7 other men he framed the same way he framed me." Jasmine went quiet. "That's a lot of evidence." "It is. But I need help organizing it in a way that lawyers and judges will actually look at. Digital timelines, cross-reference data, the works." Marcus leaned closer to the camera. "You're good at this stuff, Jazz. Better than me." His daughter bit her lip, considering. Finally, she nodded. "Send me what you have." "But Dad? If this blows up in your face, I can't watch you go back inside. I barely survived it the first time." "I know, baby girl. I know." The next afternoon, Sarah arrived at Riverside Park early, scanning the area with cop instincts that never shut off. Marcus sat on a bench overlooking the water, feeding pigeons like he had all the time in the world. "You're early," he said without looking up as she approached on her crutches. "So are you." Sarah lowered herself onto the bench, propping her crutches beside her. "This is a bad idea." "Probably." Marcus finally turned to face her. Up close, without the rain and chaos of that alley, she could see the weight he carried. The lines around his eyes, the gray in his beard, the way his shoulders stayed tense even when he was sitting still. 15 years of prison had marked him in ways that never fully healed. "Why did you help me that day?" Sarah asked quietly. Marcus was silent for a long moment. "Because I promised myself that when I got out, I wouldn't become the person they tried to make me. Angry, violent, vindictive. They already took 15 years. I wasn't going to let them take my soul too." Sarah felt tears burning behind her eyes. "I lied at your trial. Cole told me what to say, and I said it because I was scared of losing my job, my career, everything I thought mattered." The words tumbled out, raw and desperate. "I've known you were innocent for years, and I did nothing. I signed that report 3 days ago saying your conviction was sound, and I wanted to die." "But you didn't tell the truth even then," Marcus said. "It wasn't cruel, just factual." "No, I didn't." Sarah wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. "I'm a coward." "You're human." Marcus pulled out a manila folder from his jacket. "But being human doesn't fix what got broken. I need to know if you're ready to actually do something about it, or if this is just guilt talking." Sarah took the folder with shaking hands. Inside were documents, photographs, testimonies from other cases. Names she recognized, patterns she couldn't deny. "What is this?" "Proof that Cole has been doing this for decades. You weren't his first dirty cop, and I wasn't his first victim." Marcus pointed to a page. "But you might be the only one willing to flip on him." Sarah's mind raced. If she came forward, she'd lose her badge, face criminal charges, possibly go to prison herself. Emma would grow up with a mother behind bars, just like Jasmine had grown up without her father. But if she stayed silent, how many more lives would Cole destroy? "I need time," Sarah whispered. "Time is something I don't have much of anymore," Marcus said. "Cole knows you're breaking. He's going to move against you soon, probably try to discredit you, make it look like you're having a breakdown. I've seen him do it before." "Then what do you want from me?" Marcus stood up, looking down at her with an expression she couldn't quite read. I want you to decide who you're going to be. The cop who stays quiet, or the person who finally tells the truth. He started to walk away, then paused. I'll give you 3 days. After that, I'm taking what I have to the FBI, with or without your testimony. Sarah sat alone on that bench, the folder heavy in her lap, watching Marcus disappear into the afternoon crowd. Somewhere across town, Chief Raymond Cole was making his own plans, completely unaware that the two people he'd underestimated most were about to dismantle everything he built on lies and broken lives. Sarah made her decision on the second night. She called Marcus at midnight, her voice steady for the first time in weeks. I'm in. Tell me what you need. Marcus had been waiting. Meet me tomorrow at the address I'm texting you. Bring any evidence you still have for my case, anything Cole gave you back then. The next morning, Sarah arrived at a small office in a strip mall between a nail salon and a tax preparation service. The sign read Webb Security Solutions. Inside, Jasmine sat surrounded by 3 monitors, her fingers flying across keyboards. This is my daughter, Marcus said simply. She's been helping me build the case. Jasmine looked up, her expression cold. You're the cop who lied. Yes, Sarah said. No excuses, no justifications. I was. Something in that honesty made Jasmine's shoulders relax slightly. She turned back to her screens. We have digital evidence linking Cole to 8 falsified cases over 20 years. Bank deposits that coincide with convictions. Text messages he thought were deleted. But we need testimony from someone inside the department. I can give you that, Sarah said, pulling files from her bag. And I kept notes. From the night of Marcus's arrest, from the trial prep sessions. Cole didn't know I documented everything. It was a habit from academy training. Marcus took the notebooks, his hands careful. Why did you keep these? Because part of me always knew I'd need them someday. Either to protect myself or to finally do the right thing. Sarah met his eyes. I'm sorry it took this long. Over the next 48 hours, they worked. Jasmine organized timelines while Sarah provided inside knowledge of department protocols. Marcus coordinated with his lawyer and made contact with an FBI agent who specialized in police corruption. Then Sarah's phone rang. Chief Cole. Sarah, I need you to come to the station. There's been a development in the Webb situation. Marcus and Jasmine froze, watching her face. Sarah put the phone on speaker. What kind of development? Webb has been harassing other officers who testified at his trial. Making threats. I need your statement since you had contact with him. Cole's voice was smooth, practiced. This afternoon, 2 o'clock. Don't be late. When she hung up, Marcus's jaw was tight. He's setting you up. Getting you on record saying I've been harassing you, building a case to discredit anything you might say later. I know. Sarah smiled grimly. Which is why I'm going to wear a wire. 2 hours later, Sarah sat across from Chief Cole in his office, the recording device hidden beneath her shirt. Her leg still in its cast, she looked vulnerable, exactly what Cole expected. Sarah, I'm worried about you, Cole began, his voice full of concern. This obsession with the Webb case, it's not healthy. Combined with your injury, the stress. I'm fine, Chief. Are you? Cole leaned forward. Because I've received reports that you've been meeting with Webb privately. That's a serious breach of protocol. Sarah's heart pounded, but she kept her voice level. He helped me when I was injured. I thanked him. That's all. Cole's expression hardened. Don't lie to me. I know he's been feeding you conspiracy theories about his conviction. He's manipulating you, Sarah. Men like him are experts at finding weak spots. Weak spots, Sarah repeated slowly. Is that what you call a conscience? The temperature in the room dropped. Cole stood up, moving to close his office door. What did you just say? You heard me. Sarah stood as well, balancing on her good leg. Marcus Webb was innocent. We both know it. You planted those drugs, and you made me lie about it. Cole's face went pale, then red. You're having a breakdown. The injury, the medication. I'm not having a breakdown. I'm having a moment of clarity. Sarah pulled out her phone. And I'm not the only one. 7 other officers you mentored are ready to testify about your methods. The FBI has been investigating you for 6 months. You're bluffing. But Cole's voice shook. Am I? Sarah tilted her head. Why don't you check your bank accounts? The offshore ones you thought were untraceable? Funny how digital forensics work these days. Cole's hand moved toward his desk drawer. Sarah saw it coming, stepped back. Don't. FBI agents are in the building right now. You touch that weapon, and this ends very differently than it has to. The door opened. 2 agents entered, badges raised. Chief Raymond Cole, you're under arrest for corruption, evidence tampering, and conspiracy to violate civil rights. Cole's face crumbled as they read him his rights. He looked at Sarah with pure hatred. You stupid girl. You just destroyed your career for a criminal. No, Sarah said quietly. I saved it. Finally. As they led Cole away in handcuffs, Sarah pulled the wire from beneath her shirt. Every word recorded, every threat documented. Outside the station, news crews had already gathered. Marcus stood at the edge of the crowd, watching as Sarah emerged. Their eyes met across the chaos, and something unspoken passed between them. Not forgiveness, not yet. But the beginning of something that might, someday, look like justice. 6 months later, the courtroom was packed. Marcus Webb stood before the judge, his lawyer beside him, as the words he'd waited 15 years to hear finally came. Mr. Webb, based on the evidence of prosecutorial misconduct and falsified testimony, this court vacates your conviction. You are hereby exonerated of all charges. The gavel struck. Jasmine, sitting in the front row, covered her mouth as tears streamed down her face. Marcus turned to her, and for the first time since his release, he let himself cry too. Sarah Mitchell watched from the back of the courtroom. She wore civilian clothes now, her badge surrendered months ago as part of her plea agreement. She testified against Cole, provided every piece of evidence she had, and accepted the consequences. No prison time, but her career in law enforcement was over. Obstruction of justice and perjury would follow her forever. Emma squeezed her mother's hand. You did the right thing, Mom. I did the thing I should have done 15 years ago, Sarah corrected gently. There's a difference. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed Marcus. He gave a brief statement about systemic corruption and the need for reform, then found Sarah standing apart from the crowd. Thank you, he said simply. I know what it cost you. Sarah nodded. I'm starting a new job next week. Paralegal at the Innocence Project. Helping people like you. It's not redemption, but it's something. It's a start. Marcus hesitated, then added, Jasmine wants to meet Emma. She thought maybe they could grab coffee sometime. If that's okay. Sarah smiled through her tears. I'd like that. As Marcus walked away to join his daughter, Sarah realized something profound. She'd lost her career, her reputation, everything she'd built her identity around. But for the first time in 15 years, she could look at herself in the mirror without flinching. Chief Raymond Cole was sentenced to 12 years in federal prison. 7 other officers faced charges. 19 wrongful convictions were overturned, 19 lives given back. Marcus Webb received a settlement from the city, enough to expand his security business and pay for Jasmine's college. He never forgot what was stolen from him, but he refused to let bitterness define what came next. Some stories don't have perfect endings. Sarah would always carry the weight of those 15 years she stayed silent. Marcus would never get back the time he lost with his daughter. But they both learned something essential. The cost of doing the right thing is high, but the cost of living with lies is infinitely higher. Real justice isn't about revenge. It's about having the courage to tell the truth, even when that truth destroys everything you've built on foundations of fear and convenience. It's about choosing integrity over comfort, accountability over self-preservation. Sarah had been a decorated cop who became a criminal. Marcus had been a convicted felon who became a hero. Neither of them were defined by where they started, but by the choice they made when it mattered most. If this story moved you, subscribe to the channel for more true stories about people who found the strength to do what's right, even when everything was on the line. Because sometimes the bravest thing you can do is admit you were wrong and spend the rest of your life making it right.